This is a true crime in real time update from True Crime Today and the Hidden Killers podcast. Broadcasting live from the True Crime Today studios to the world. This is Murder in the Morning with Tony Bruschi and Stacey Cole.
From the Hidden Killers podcast, Murder in the Morning.
It's pretty bad when your mom is even going, yeah, I could see my son being the killer. 2 days before Luigi Mangione was arrested in Pennsylvania, his mother, Kathleen Mangione, made a chilling statement to investigators saying she could see him committing the crime. Her comments were revealed as Manhattan District Attorney Alvin Bragg announced an indictment charging Mangione with first-degree murder for the UnitedHealthcare CEO Brian Thompson, which prosecutors described as an act of terrorism. Thompson, who's 50, was walking through Midtown Manhattan on December 4th when he was gunned down in what authorities believe was a targeted attack. Police allege that Mangione, 26, approached Thompson from behind, fired multiple shots, and fled the scene, leaving shell casings with cryptic inscriptions and other evidence behind. In early December, investigators received a tip from San Francisco police linking Mangione to the crime. Surveillance footage from the hostel showed a man resembling Mangione, prompting New York police to contact his mother. NYPD Chief of Detectives Joseph Kenney recounted their conversation, saying, quote, "She didn't confirm it was her son in the photo, but she did state that it was something she could see him doing." Kathleen Mangione had filed a missing persons report for her son in November, months after he had gone out of contact with his family and friends. The day before Luigi Mangione was arrested, her statement about his potential involvement was being prepared for follow-up by detectives, but his capture in Pennsylvania preempted further inquiries. Mangione was arrested on December 9th at a McDonald's in Altoona, Pennsylvania, after an observant customer recognized him and alerted staff. He was found in possession of a 9mm ghost gun, a suppressor, and several fake IDs. Police say Mangione left behind a trail of evidence linking him to the murder, including fingerprints on shell casings, a water bottle, and a granola bar at the scene. The shell casings bore words like deny, depose, and delay, reflecting common criticisms of health insurance practices. Investigators also recovered a 3-page manifesto in Mangione's possession where he condemned the healthcare industry and referred to its employees as parasites. Manhattan District Attorney Alvin Bragg described the attack as an act of terrorism designed to instill fear. Midtown Manhattan is the heart of New York City. This crime, committed at the start of a busy day among commuters and tourists, was intended to spread terror. Mangione, an Ivy League graduate from a prominent Maryland family, has been estranged from his loved ones for 6 months before his arrest. He's currently being held without bail in Pennsylvania on weapons and forgery charges while fighting extradition to New York. First-degree murder charges in New York require specific aggravating factors such as acts of terrorism. Bragg argued that Mangione's actions met the legal definition, citing his alleged intent to coerce a civilian population through violence. Online activity linked to Mangione suggests deep-seated grievances within the healthcare system. A Reddit account believed to belong to him described chaos or chronic health issues, including a misaligned spine and irritable bowel syndrome, and frustrations with navigating insurance claims. Efforts to contact Mangione's attorney, Karen Friedman Agnifilo, and his cousin, Maryland politician Nino Mangione, were unsuccessful. Mangione is set to appear in court on December 19th, again, as prosecutors continue to build their case against him.
What do you think goes through a mother's mind if that's what you're brought to, being questioned because they're suspecting your son is up to something, and you sit back in the chair and go, yeah, I guess it's something I could see him doing. How do you get to that point?
I think you've made peace that your son's nuts, that your son is, there's something not right about him or his belief system. Because here's the thing, this doesn't mean he's mentally ill. This doesn't mean he has a personality disorder either. This could just be, he has very, very strongly held beliefs, and that could be, and that's what he thought the way to solve the problem was. That doesn't necessarily mean mental illness. That just, some people are just bad. So I think you may have just realized, or she may have realized, this is just me speculating, he's a shit kid. He's very smart, because he had a great education, and clearly could succeed there, but probably realizing there's something broken in his mind, and you know what you're dealing with.
Well, I want to also share a little something. I back in 2013, I had a back injury. I played roller derby poorly. I'm very small. I got thrown around the track quite a bit. I landed on my butt and blew out my L4 and L5. And I was in extreme pain. I was on MS Contin, which is morphine. I was on that for a year, an entire year. That's how bad the pain was.
Mm-hmm.
Pain can change a person. And I remember just having a really short fuse. Like every time my back was just on edge, like I couldn't get the pain under control. I had a TENS unit that I'd attached to my back. I was on the morphine. I would use ice packs.
Sure.
I sat on certain things. And this was when I worked in radio, and it was hard to sit still. Like for the morning show, it was so hard to just sit. And so I'd be standing, I'd be sitting. I couldn't get comfortable. And I just remember being like, feeling rage at times.
Sure.
There's just something about pain that just overworks your system.
Mm-hmm.
But I never killed anybody, again.
But that, again, that could be a mitating factor in this too, where that is true. It does do that. Constant pain, you're going to be in a state of unhappiness, and it will continue to build and build and build unless there's something there, or some healthy outlet to direct that to. But if you don't do anything to try and recognize that and do anything about it, it can go to crazy places.
It really can. And I worry sometimes, and I guess I've said I understand where his anger is coming from. It doesn't justify it, but I can see the frustration when you keep going to the medical system begging for help and you're not getting it.
Yeah.
Whether it's they don't believe that the pain is bad, they want to do a procedure, your insurance denies it. Maybe you don't have insurance and can't afford it. There's a lot of things that could be going on here. He was not somebody who couldn't afford it. He came from a very wealthy family. If he needed some procedure to help him, I'm sure they could have come up with the money. So I don't think it was a monetary thing. But there are people every day begging for help for their situations and not getting it.
Yeah.
And they have to find other ways to cope. And I think we're seeing a reckoning here. People need to be listened to. People need to be heard.
I do too. I think the days and the years of the companies just kind of like, well, we can do whatever we want. We're too big, and you are not going to hurt us or anything, so we're not even going to worry about you, are done. I think there's going to be a reckoning here, and I hope it doesn't continue with more violence. My hope would be that they'll see that the villagers have their pitchforks, and it's going to get far worse if there's not some changes to these systems and the way that we handle things. And just, it's so, they're so tone deaf half the time, I think, to what normal people out there every day are feeling and dealing with.
Mm-hmm.
And the outrage that exists. And you're talking about, I'm surprised this stuff hasn't happened sooner, to be completely honest.
I think that's a really valid point.
It sounds dark
People
and horrible.
People have been fed up for a long fucking time.
Yeah. It sounds horrible, but I am surprised we haven't seen this sooner. And I don't know if we're going to see more of it. I don't know. It's people have been so fed up with this, and you're dealing with something that is life or death for people's family members, for themselves, for their children, for their loved, for anybody that you're close to, and they died unnecessarily because a system was broken and fucked up, or delayed something, or denied something, or, basically wasted too much time and things got to a place where it isn't fixable. But it could have been had that insurance company approved whatever earlier. And that loved one dies unnecessarily. If you got nothing to lose and you're a little bit unhinged, I'm just surprised there's not more. I'm not encouraging it. I don't want more, but that is such a horrible thing. I'm also surprised no one's, no members of Fred Phelps Church have been run over. I'm surprised there hasn't been more of that when they're like picketing a soldier's funeral and some, one of the buddies is, got PTSD or something. Is like, fuck you. And here comes the F-350 running over the Phelps family. I'm surprised that hasn't happened. Again, not saying I want it to happen. I think they're horrible people, but you can't solve this thing with that. But when you're talking about life and death with people that are just your number ones, and they're stolen from you in such an unnecessary way, you're going to get people responding not always in the most wise of manners.
Well, and that's an interesting point too, because a lot of times this week we had another school shooting. It's another week in America.
Yeah.
And a lot of, at least where I am, it's the top of the news right now because I'm in Wisconsin. I'm 2 hours from where it happened. So that's what everybody's talking about. So we have these things that happen on a regular basis. People are at their limit. They are at we have come out of a pandemic. We had a really divisive political season that seemed to last forever. Mm-hmm. People are on fucking edge. Yeah. I just tread lightly, people. And I'm not saying that this is okay. This isn't how we solve our problems. But I think we are at a point where people are like, fuck it. I have nothing left to lose. I don't have any money. I can't afford to buy things. Fuck it.
Yeah.
So let's start treating each other with a little more kindness and understanding so that we don't start losing people going over the cliff, Yeah.
Problem solving skills would be helpful for a lot of people. But the thing is, I think what a lot of people, especially when it comes to insurance companies, you're doing everything right when you're trying to look into something, correct a problem, you see something's wrong on the bill or whatever. You're just trying to do the right thing, and they so often seem to just respond with incompetence and drag you here or drag you there, and then you get to this department after 10 days of calling, and they're like, "Why are you even over here? This is not for that. You got to start over here." Oh well, I mean, I've had it so many times with the government and healthcare, with the Affordable Care Act or whatever, and getting a policy on there. But it turns out I didn't even need to. I could have just bought it directly from the insurance company. But no one tells you that. And you're pretty much directed there. And then somehow our coverage is erased for like 3 or 4 months. All of a sudden, like, oh, you don't have any coverage. I have the cards. I have the paperwork that says I do, but they can't find the account between the government and whatever the insurance company was at the time.
Oh, wow.
It was insane. And I'm like, well, what happened? Like, I'm paying for insurance. You are taking my money every month, but I can't go to the doctor and show an insurance card and have it be validated by you. Even though I'm paying for it, here's the policy, but within your system, between the government and the Affordable Care Act and the insurance company, they somehow couldn't find the document or whatever, just a digital file. And nobody could like go back and just like redo it or something. It was so even when you're doing the right things and you're following all of the right paths, and you do have good problem solving skills, and there's just no way to solve obvious errors and obvious problems, it'll drive you fucking nuts.
Well, and what if you had a catastrophic thing happen where you needed your insurance?
Exactly.
You made the payments, you had the proof of insurance, you had the proof of coverage. It's their fault.
Hey,
guess what? You're going to be denied at the ER.
I went and bought catastrophic coverage at that time just in case, because I'm like, I don't know if they're like, And then you're going to rely on them backdating it if they'll even recognize doing that. And I can guarantee if there's like a big fucking claim or something on there, they're not going to want to backdate it. Even though you can prove, you'd have to like sue them. And that's how far you'd have to go. They wouldn't just do it by you asking them because it's the right thing to do because they fucked something up. You would have to sue them. And nobody wants to do that. I mean, you could, but it's another huge headache because of a broken system when the customers is not trying to do anything wrong. They're just trying to use the system that's supposed to work, but it doesn't.
Well, and that's the thing. Why is this so fucking hard? We admit that the system's broken. What's the alternative? Can we do the alternative? And can we make it reasonable for everybody, whether you're the top 1% or you're the absolute bottom 1%? Can we make this reasonable so everybody has a fair shake?
Well, that's where you get to politics, and then you get the people understanding, number one, what they're voting for or not voting for, or being swindled by people who are telling you one thing when reality is the other. So you vote one way when your real true interests are the other way, and relying on the American public to understand that and to be able to inform themselves efficiently enough to vote in the direction of what they actually want to have happen, and not at the end of the day go, well, I thought I voted for that. No, you actually didn't.
And I think we're going to be seeing that. And I don't mean that in a political way, but I think there's going to be some surprises where people thought like you said, they voted one way, and then all of a sudden they're like, well, wait a minute.
Yeah.
That's not what I wanted.
And
that's what I voted for, but that's what TikTok told me.
Exactly.
I just want some honesty, accountability. I want people to have a fair shake on every side of the spectrum. Just what happened? Where are we?
I'm just asking for competence because I feel like that's been lost. Once we have competence, then we can do the other, bells and whistles, which shouldn't be bells and whistles. It should just be basics of how these sort of things operate. But
I just feel like people don't give a fuck anymore.
Well, they don't. A lot of people do not. And
how do we get our fuck back?
How do we get our fuck back?
Serious, legit question.
It's like how Stella got her groove back, but how Stacy got her fuck back. That sounds horrible.
It does.
All right, true crime addicts, let's cut the crap. You're knee-deep in the gory details of your favorite podcast when suddenly a commercial hits like a bad meal. Seriously? You deserve better. Upgrade to True Crime Today Premium Plus on Apple Podcasts, where you can binge without those annoying ads. Plus, get extended interviews that go deeper into the darkness and early access to episodes so you can be the first to know. It's like trading up from fast food to fine dining, but with more blood. So, go ahead. Search for True Crime Today Premium Plus on Apple Podcasts. Subscribe and feast on the good stuff. In a world where the darkest secrets lie just beneath the surface.
They said it was an accident, but the evidence says otherwise.
Where hidden killers roam unnoticed in the shadows.
I think you would definitely be looking at a blend of toxic, very bad narcissistic personality traits, and they will be vengeful and possibly resort to violence.
Join Tony Bruschi as he uncovers the truth behind the most chilling cases.
They said it was an accident, but the evidence clearly says otherwise.
Each episode, we dig deep into the minds of those who commit the unthinkable.
To your point on narcissism, he thinks in his own mind how witty he is.
Yeah.
But he lost that jury. I was done with him in 2 minutes.
From unsolved mysteries to infamous crimes.
Geez, you've just talked about how you've taught yourself how to do everything under the sun. I bet you did a YouTube video, how to best kill somebody with a knife.
Hidden Killers with Tony Bruschi takes you where few dare to go.
How does someone with such a dark secret go unnoticed for so long?
With multiple new episodes every single day.
We're not just telling stories, we're seeking justice.
Listen now on Apple Podcasts or wherever you get your podcasts. Just search for Hidden Killers with Tony Bruschi.